Hey, it's Chuck Armstrong with Loudwire Nights, and this is Loudwire Nights on Demand. We recently caught up with Cody Quistad of Wage War, talking about their upcoming new album, Stigma, and we talked about what it's like for him to write with other artists. This first aired on Tuesday, May 7th. Let's go. In 2010, tonight's special guest helped form a band called Empires, and not long after that, they changed their name to Wage War. And from those early days to today to right now, man, Wage War have been just an absolute force in the metalcore scene, in the hardcore scene, whatever you want to say, just in the rock and roll scene, man. And on June 21st, that force will only grow with the release of their latest studio album number 5, Stigma. I am beyond thrilled to welcome Wage War guitarist and vocalist Cody Quistad to the show tonight. Cody, thank you so much for hanging, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I got to say right out of the gate, just, congrats on Stigma. I've had the privilege of getting to spend some time with it. I know you're doing these meet and greets with fans before shows, playing a few tracks from it. How's it feel to have this wrapped up and ready for the world to hear?
Feels great. This is absolutely the longest we've ever gone without putting out new music. Manic came out in October of 21, and this is coming out in 24. So this is the longest we put out a stripped record, which doesn't really count because it's songs that we already had out. But to be putting out new music and something that we've really concentrated on for the entire back half of last year, it feels awesome. It feels good to be playing new songs. And like you said, we're playing a few songs at our VIP meet and greet. And kind of getting to see live reactions is actually not something that we were really thinking about in the moment when we were like, yeah, we'll just play a couple songs for people. But to like live react, watch people listen to your songs in front of you is crazy.
Yeah, no, that's a different kind of pressure, right? You're playing a song nobody's heard, and then you get to see their reaction in real time.
Yeah, it's been so cool. We like first day was like a little uncomfortable. I was like, what do I do with my hands? Do I just look at my shoes or what? But it's been super cool. It's one of my favorite parts of the day.
Yeah, you got to tell the crowd, don't look at me in the eye. I don't want to see it.
I literally have been saying that. I've been like, don't look at us because we don't know what to do.
I love that, man. Well, listen, you mentioned 2021's Manic, and if you go back, it's kind of wild to think about Wage War releasing Pressure, the album before Manic, in August of 2019. And so that was just 6 or 7 months before the entire world would shut down, right, with the pandemic. And then in October of 2021, while still much of the world was kind of figuring things out in the pandemic, you released Manic. And then here we are, I would say, safe to say, on the other side of all of that, celebrating a new Wage War record. As a songwriter, as a musician, as an artist, is it weird to have a decent chunk of your work connected to that pandemic experience?
I think kind of, but not really. I think the pandemic was cool for everybody just because we got the chance to like really hone in and work on what we feel at the time was our best record. And the way that records have been going until then is like, all right, cool. Here's like a small, 2 or 3 month gap in your touring schedule. Let's try to crank out a record. And you're like, okay, I guess. So for Pressure was obviously, or like coming out of Pressure, we got to do our most successful U.S. headliner to date. We did our most successful UK, Europe headliner to date, and then we did Australia with our good friends in Polaris. So we did 3 really great tours right off the back of it. And then that's when the pandemic happened. So basically the rest of that cycle just got robbed. And then it was like, well, we don't have anything else to do, so let's just dive back into another record. And then Manic came, and we were one of the first bands back out after the pandemic. So we were just ready to go. It's crazy that at least half the discography is born out of the whole pandemic, for sure.
Yeah, it's wild, man. And so, it's interesting because, right, you guys really started jamming together in 2010, and that debut full length came out in 2015. And so regardless of what would happen in the world, you guys grow as musicians, as writers, just as human beings. You go through different experiences, and so things change. But then that obviously is an influence too on how you approach writing or recording or collaborating together. How would you describe that growth for the band? The sound of Wage War over those years since the early days, from your debut full length to where we are today with Stigma. How would you describe that?
I think I usually say this for lyrics, but I think sonically as well, like albums are just yearbooks for us. You know what I mean? It's a snapshot of the things that, we're going through lyrically or sonically, the things that we're into at the time. So, first record was, this like very, it's like insanely riffy, very, heavy, low tuned, which at the time was like what we all loved doing. It was songs that we've been writing since we were, like you said, 2010, like kids. And that was the first time we had a very limited window of time to put the album together. So we kind of threw it all together, and thankfully people really resonated with it, which is great. And then the next record, we kind of introduced a little bit more melody into what we were doing, and had songs like Gravity. And then as we moved on to Pressure, like I felt like we felt like the last two records were like pretty similar, and we were kind of ready to change things up a bit and like inject some new, production elements and styles of songs. And like we kind of saw our first like tinge into like the industrial realm with Pressure. And then when it came to Manic, we kind of tried to like marry both of those worlds with like the industrial side of Pressure, and then kind of the melodic heavy part of Manic. And then I feel like Stigma for us is just 10 entirely different songs. And us just trying to do a bunch of stuff that, make songs that we love, but try to kind of widen the landscape of what Wage War is and what Wage War does.
Now, I get that, and I ask that because, like as a fan, when you listen through those albums and when you start hearing these songs come out from Stigma, which will be out, the whole album will be out on June 21st, you hear that evolution, that progression, whatever it is. What keeps you interested or engaged in that kind of thing, in pushing yourself toward new ground and in writing those new songs that explore different, whether it's sonic space or sounds than you've ever done before?
Yeah. I think for us, obviously there's a live aspect to everything. Because as much as people listen to them, we also play them every night. Right. So we're putting together an hour and a half set. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to feel like I just played the same song for an hour and a half. So there's a side to that that's just like, this would be cool live. And I think part of the thinking when writing Stigma was, how will this feel live? You know what I mean? And we wanted to make a record that's fun live. I mean, the first track on the record, Show's About to Start, is an entire song about being at a show. And I think we just wanted to just keep pushing. I think genres are just not even going to exist in the next 10 years. And it's so exciting to see what's happening, not only in music, but in the rock space. And how far things are stretching and how boundaries are being pushed. I think we just wanted to do our part in that.
Well, yeah, I think you're exactly right, man. I mean, the way people, consume music or listen to music, it's totally different than it's ever been. And it's only going to get more and more different. And, I think it's okay now. It's more accepted to have different tastes and to go to, concerts for different artists that you would never want to be seen at, but now those gates are just opening wider and wider. And I think there's nothing better for rock and roll than that.
Nope.
Cody, I gotta say, I recently had the chance to catch you on the road with Nothing More. And as far as co-headlining tours go, Wage War and Nothing More together might just be one of the best of all time. I mean, the two of you guys sharing that stage and playing after each other. I mean, it's a 1-2 punch, and it's exactly what I needed when I saw you guys. And I know everybody in that venue, everybody who's catching you on this tour feels the same way.
Yeah, I think we've never done a co-headliner before, but I think it dates all the way back to like 2019. We were in LA making Pressure at the time, and we had gone to see Nothing More. They were playing the Belasco. Didn't know them at all, but we had seen the band live. I think our buddies of Mice and Men were playing, so we went to see them, stayed for Nothing More, and we were like, this band is insane. Like, and if there was ever a band that felt like a good mix of I feel like the way that we operate as a band is we always want to try to do things like a little different, and things that like, kind of rock the boat a little bit. And while I feel like, us and Nothing More, as our careers have both grown since then, I feel like, we're tapping a little bit more into some melodic sides, and I feel like they're kind of tapping more into some heavier sides. So I feel like our fan bases, while they might not be the same, I feel like they can be similar. And if you came to see Nothing More, you're probably going to enjoy Wage War. And if you came to see Wage War, you're probably going to enjoy Nothing More. Fantastic bands, wonderful people. incredible musicians. It's been so fun, and even just like when you're picking bands for touring, you want you want it to be bands that you're going to hear every single night through the walls of your green room. You know what I mean? And I find myself just in our green room singing along, or I'll go out and watch some songs. But it's been a blast.
So listen, I got to say, I've had the privilege of chatting with a lot of different people on the show, and in the last few months, it seems almost like I can just predict people to bring up your name, whether it's just someone, like they look up to, or, when we start talking about songwriting and collaborating, it's like every single time they're like, oh yeah, I got together with Cody from Wage War. It seems like you've had your hands on a lot of different songs across many different bands and even across a lot of different genres too. How did that first start for you? Not just, those early days of Empires and then Wage War, but for you, like as a songwriter collaborating with people outside of that group. How did that start?
I think for me, I got to give the credit to A Day to Remember. Honestly, before Wage War was really anything, Jeremy had called me, and so we're from the same hometown as A Day to Remember, and they've been friends of ours for a while. But Jeremy called me when they were doing Common Courtesy, and he called me in for us to just kind of start riffing around and working on some songs. And I worked on one or two songs. I think it's sometimes with the hammer, sometimes with the nail on that record. And that's kind of where it started. And then from there, it kind of moved through to Falling in Reverse, Popular Monster, which has just been such a life-changing song for me as a songwriter. And it's kind of paved the way for me. So I think I give a lot of thanks to Ronnie for believing in me in that. And he's had me along for pretty much every song since then. And then from there, it's kind of just weaved through different things. I moved to Nashville in 2018 to like really put on and do the songwriter thing. And obviously I've built my band career up to this point. So I've kind of just been chasing the same thing and, getting involved where I can. And it's opened a lot of cool opportunities, and obviously being in Wage War helps, but I never try to use that as my crutch. I try to just hone my craft and do that thing. So, I've gotten to work with a lot of wonderful bands, a lot of bands I've looked up to. It's been a really, really cool experience for me.
Is it hard to balance the two? Kind of the songwriting dream, but also this Wage War dream?
Yeah, I think it's depending on the season. If I'm working on like Wage War material, it's kind of hard for me to like separate some of those things sometimes, just because, not that like we're the same band, but I can very easily like inject too much Wage War into something, you know what I mean? Just because that's what's natural to me. I got to be careful with those things sometimes, but it's kind of a per project thing, but I'm usually able to separate it. And I kind of like to change it up too. Like if I'm doing like a rock or metal band at the time, I like to, if I'm looking at my week or something, it's like, all right, cool, rock metal band here. Let's do something country here. Let's do something pop alternative leading here. Like I like to just kind of keep it fresh and changed up.
What's been one of the biggest surprises in all of that? Like you've been doing this for years, and you've listed just a couple of pretty massive experiences that have really shaped this whole journey. But what have been, one of the biggest surprises where you're like, man, I didn't think working with this person would be like that, or I never thought I'd get to work with this person, and here we are sitting in the room writing together.
Yeah. I mean, Falling in Reverse, Popular Monster, I mean, really any of the songs, Zombified, Watch the World Burn. I think Popular Monster just went triple platinum.
I think so, yeah.
So to have a triple platinum plaque on my wall is
it's a big surprise.
That's certainly something I would never think would happen. I got to do a record with one of my best friends, Maddie Mullins from Memphis Mayfire. Loved Memphis Mayfire growing up, so it was cool to not only now have a close relationship with him, but to be able to work on a Memphis Mayfire record was great. A Day to Remember, obviously hometown heroes for us. Same story. Like grew up going to A Day to Remember shows, and like half of us are in A Day to Remember music videos from when they have like crowds and stuff. So working on those albums and those songs, it's really special for me for sure to be able to work with people that I've listened to for a long time, and just kind of have these creative experiences. And I feel like that's a that's like a whole separate part of like a friendship. And when you like start collaborating and creating with someone, it's super special.
Cody Quistad of Wage War, thank you so much for hanging tonight. Everyone get ready to be blown away by Wage War's new album out on June 21st. It is called Stigma. 2 songs already out from it, Magnetic taking the world by storm, and now Nails. And then also, don't miss your chance to see these guys on the road. They still have some dates left with Nothing More, and they will be on a few festivals this summer too. And I'm just guessing, Cody, there's probably plenty more to come from the live aspect of Wage War. You can grab all the tour plans, stay up to date with all the tour plans at wagewarband.com. Cody, it's great chatting, man, and hopefully we can have you back on the show soon.
Cool. Thank you, Chuck.
That wraps up this episode of Loudwire Nights on Demand. Stay caught up with everything happening in the world of rock and metal on the Loudwire app and at loudwire.com.